once again, Alon Sage from Coils Boutique here, and this is another episode of how to make your own one-piece, one-of-a-kind guitar using relatively basic tools. Today, we'll be installing new frets on grace and side dots. This will be episode number 10. So I got this guitar clamped to the table. The neck is completely free of stresses. I released all tension from the truss rod, and I'll be using my straight edge and radius gauge to check that the neck is completely straight and leveled. And I'm gonna straighten it out and make sure it is leveled and make sure that the radius is okay, and you're gonna watch me do that. As I'm working on necks and straightening out fretboards, I will unavoidably place some weight on the neck, and it will cause the neck to bend. So I'm placing this spacer here underneath the headstock, and it will prevent this neck from diving as I'm pressing weight on it. I want it almost touching the headstock, but not touching the headstock. This helps me know that the weight that I'm putting on the neck stops at this point, and if this touches, I will not be able to know if it presses on the neck and exerts extra forces. So this way I know I don't stress the neck, I don't exert any force on it, it's completely free, and it will prevent it from diving while pressing the weight on it. Now that the neck is completely relieved and I'm placing this straight edge, and I can see that there's light coming off the sides, and this part here with the fretboard is a little bit high, and this neck is not as straight as I want it to be. So this is what I'll try to fix before installing the frets, is level this fretboard out until everything is completely leveled. I have my leveling blocks here. They're 120 grit, and I'm gonna use them to sand this ebony. Now this fretboard is completely leveled. I'm very satisfied. You can actually hear this tone that this ruler makes when it hits the flat surface. This is the sound of a flat surface. And it's time to go to the next step. I have decided to use this StuMac fret wire. The width is 0.095 and the crown is 0.045. It's a nice fret wire, but in order to install it, I will need to make sure that these fret slots are in the right depth. So I have this saw here with this sort of limiter, and I will make sure that it will not saw anything that is too deep. So now I'm in the right depth, and now I can go over each slot and correct the depth. Now this is the tricky part. Well, the body is actually works against me because I cannot move the saw too much. I don't want to damage this piece of wood, so it gets a little tricky, but we can manage around it, I guess. I'll just do the bottom half of the fretboard, and then I'll rotate the guitar, and it will help me avoid hurting the body with the saw blade. Now I'll just placing a sanding paper sheet here to see that I'm not touching or damaging the body in any way. It will help me protect what I'm working on. These markings here were made by the limiter or stopper that was mounted on the saw that I used. And now I'll just sand them so they will disappear, and I'll finish the fretboard in the same grit that I'll end up finishing the entire fretting process. That's nice. I'm using the 120 grit to start with, and then I'm moving to 220, and to finish everything up I'll use these Indasa pads, the fine and the super fine. That's my final grit for finishing. And now this fretboard is ready to be fitted with new frets. About the fret job here, you already saw me on other video that we did a few months ago about fretting 5-string bass. So it's basically the same process here. I have this tool that creates this fret wire curve. I'll have my hammer, I have some acetone and some cotton, and I have my CA glue, and check it out, it's a really, really nice process. You probably noticed by now that I'm not using a press machine. I have two reasons for that. First of all, after many years of working with a hammer, I've decided and realized that I'm doing a better job with the hammer than press machine. And the second reason is because this is an ebony fretboard. Ebony is very, very dense and it's very crisp. And press machines, they press sometimes too much and everything is just a little bit too fast, and the fretboards might crack, and I don't want any cracks on this beautiful ebony piece. So I will not use a press machine, and I really recommend you guys not using a press machine on ebony fretboards. By now, I will stop working on this guitar and I will leave it for at least 48 hours, because inserting the frets into the slots creates much stress on the wood, because the tang, it presses against the walls of the slots. So I will just leave it for 48 hours to get acclimatized to the new condition, and then I'll continue. So it's been a few days, and let's continue on with the work. I'll work on the angles here. It's very important not to overdo it, and we don't want to create any sharp angle onto the wood, just the frets. So I'm reaching this angle here, the edge of the fretboard, but not more than that. I will not round the edges of the frets right now. I'll do it later on during the building process as I level the frets, probably before the finishing process. But I will install the side dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Measure it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Let's forget about the 12th fret because it's not in the marking is not exactly in the center. I'll have to, so let's forget about this one for now and we'll go back to it when I finish all the others. Oh no! How will I drill this with this tiny drill right here? Well, I have devised out of an old drumstick an extension to my drill. This will work perfectly. Now I only have the 12th fret that is left, and I'll do it right now. All right. Let's finish it up. A little bit of cleanup with some acetone. And these look fabulous. So this is the end of this episode of how to install your frets and your side dots on your one-piece, one-of-a-kind guitar using relatively basic tools. In the next episode we might route the electronics cavity. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. But until then, all the best, guys.